Well, welcome back. And if you tuned in late, we are packed with information for you. And I'm going right to reintroduce Linda Parr, who is here. And next to her is Kimberly Thomason, who is an attorney. And we're talking about all the things, my head's spinning. It really is. Most people, it's hard to grasp all of this. Now, when we were on the break, you were talking, would you go ahead with that?
Sure. One of the things that is absolutely an epidemic now, unfortunately, is the exploitation of vulnerable adults. And most people think of vulnerable adults of those that are in a nursing home or who have already diminished capacity, that their brain just, their mind just isn't as sharp as it was. And that's not necessarily the case. We see a lot of exploitation of the lonely. And that means those are isolated and their children might not be in the area, or they might not have children, or their family members aren't around, or unfortunately, sometimes family members come in to exploit. And so we see that people come in realizing that their weaknesses are they want company, they want people to talk to them, people to do errands for them, people that want to cut their grass. And that seems to be an opening in this particular area, and there are things that mark any individual that's seeking to exploit, and there are things that people should be aware of. If somebody is seeking to isolate you from your other family members, from other individuals, from going about your normal activities, they want to talk to you about the fact that they're the only person that cares for you, they want to entice you into signing certain documentation that you haven't had someone else review, you haven't had the opportunity to talk to someone else about. They portray themselves as the only person that cares about you, or they're the only person that's going to watch out for you. Those are all beacons that you should, be aware, that should make light bulbs go off in your head, to be on guard. Because while they might have the best of intentions, we have to also be aware of those are signals of individuals that don't have the best of intentions. And with our population living longer and longer, they seek to use those entries as a way to, and a means to get vulnerable adults to sign away their rights, their decision-making authority, their property,
their
money, and that's what they're after. And there's an entire area of the law now, and a designated task force in Greenville, and the state, as a matter of fact, that has been set up to deal with individuals that do nothing but exploit vulnerable adults to get their money, property, and so forth.
And this goes on all the time.
All the time. And too often it is family members, but it's generally family members that haven't been in the picture for a long time, that show up out of the blue. Once somebody gets to a point in their age, and they just show up and they decide all of a sudden they want to be very helpful. And unfortunately, those of us who are believers and want to look for the best in people, and many times that explains every vulnerable adult. We want to see the best, we want to believe the best, but you have to still be cautious, responsible, and know. And, always look to run decisions by somebody else that you trust.
We don't want people to become paranoid and think if somebody's kind to them that they're trying to do something wrong.
It's a fine line.
And it takes a lot of wisdom sometimes to figure out the difference.
But I would say with these major decisions in your life, like signing a power of attorney, medical power of attorney, deciding who's going to be personal rep in your will, or a trustee in your trust, you need to always have a second opinion, somebody that you truly trust, that you've known for a long period of time, that can, if you're thinking about giving somebody that authority, you can run that decision by them.
So you would advise somebody to have a second opinion before they did anything?
I would.
It's kind of, it's shocking to think that this kind of thing goes on around, and we're totally unaware of it.
It is, but prosecutions of this type of thing have just escalated tremendously
Really?
in the last few years.
So what is, in the few minutes we have left here, you need to have a will. Everybody, and you know, people think, well, oh, I'm just 30 years old. Why would I need a will? Does everybody need a will regardless of their age?
Yes. If you don't set out in a will how your property, ever how much you have or ever how little you have, if you don't set out who gets it, even a car, if you don't set out who gets it, the court has to decide who gets it. Do you want to go through that process? Do you want to put your family through that process? If you die without a will, everything has to go through probate, and it's called intestate. That means you didn't have a will, so the courts can decide rather than you.
Yeah. So that right there, that's a big stumbling block. So everybody, even young people, should go and get if they have any property at all.
Yes.
And anyone, young parents with children.
That's another thing.
Yes.
Absolutely should have a will in place, power of attorney in place, and a health care power of attorney in place. Because you never know if you're going to be in a car accident, and you've got young children, who's going to be guardian for your children, who's going to take control of your finances to make sure your bills are paid while you're recovering, or if you don't, who's going to provide for your children.
And you want to be sure that whoever you name to take care of your children has your children's best interest at heart and will use all the money that's left for those children and not squander it on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, this is pretty scary stuff you're talking about. It really is.
It is, but if
most of us who are lay people, not like you, it's scary.
It is, but I think if you take the precautions we're talking about, it doesn't have to be, because you can be in control of that destiny. There are a lot of things we can't control when we're born and when we die, but there are other things that we can take control of. Who's going to handle our affairs when we're gone? Who's going to make decisions for us if we're not able to make decisions for ourselves? Who's going to take care of our children if we're, we die unexpectedly at a young age? So those things, I think, as long as you put those things in place. And I would say one more thing: if you've already made, those decisions, you have a will, you have those things in place. I'd be very cautious of somebody that comes in at the last hour to try to change what you've already put into effect. I see that a lot.
Oh, really?
You're in the hospital, and somebody comes in to have you decide someone else should be in charge. If you have truly weighed those decisions and you've made those decisions, and you have all the documents in place, someone that comes to the hospital to change those things at the last minute, or somebody that comes to the nursing home, or I'd be very cautious of that, and that should make your antenna go up as well.
So you think your advice is for each person, maybe a young married couple, and they'll say, well, we don't have anything, we don't own property, why should we bother with a will? All right?
You have your personal effects, but on top of that, you have, you're both in an accident at the same time, or one of you is in an accident. Somebody that's going to decide whether you have life-extending procedures that go above and beyond the normal. You're going to be kept alive on life support or ventilators. A lot of people would say, I don't want that. But if you leave that up to your family, not only does it take it out of your hands what you would have had done, but it puts tremendous pressure.
Oh, it puts a great burden on
the people that
who
you
loved
leave behind.
Yes.
That they're left to make decisions that will haunt them and follow them, unfortunately, if they make a decision and they think, was it right or wrong, instead of just knowing they were carrying out your...
All right, so I'm going to ask you, if somebody out there, and they'll say, well, we're just newly married, or we just have a new job and just out of college, we don't have any money, we don't have anything to leave anybody. Your advice to them is to go to an attorney and express their wishes, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do that.
It doesn't, but you also have someone like Linda and Circle of Life. You have really dedicated and reputable organizations that would be glad to do that if you don't want to go the route of.
All right.
But yes, it does not cost very much at all.
And we have here Circle of Light, 864-331-1751. If you need help, you can call that number. I'll keep the information here. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. And wherever you are, I guess we better get busy and get those papers out and decide what we're going to do. Stay happy in the meantime. Bye-bye.
Thank you.